2018. Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show. Informed, engaged, and empowered. It's time for the Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Just want to call and say what's up.
Oh, it's you.
Hey, bro.
Yo, what's up, man?
Love listening to you.
Thank you very much.
We've got news from Essex County, New Jersey, and beyond.
In obscene terms, he said,
accountability starts here.
Now give me a beat.
I'm concerned because we haven't elected people who, to me, have the acumen to begin to try to figure it out.
It's the Eric Dawson Radio Show on RTH 2000.
Yo, this is the Eric Dawson Radio Show, 95.1 FM, RTH 2000. This is Wednesday. I'm here with my co-host, Butchie Nieves.
Hey.
What's the word, Butchie?
¿Cómo está, mi hermano? How are you, my brother?
Hey, man, it's about hydrating, brother. It's hot.
Yes,
it's
it
getting
is.
hot.
Hydrate.
And you know what? This is, see, we got to start doing this. This is one of our sponsors, man, Alkazone Antioxidant Water. The brother, the Antioxidant Water King. You can find them on Facebook. A lot of the water is being sold all throughout the community within and outside of Essex County. Its pH is 9.5. And I tell you, man, and I'm not saying this simply because they're a sponsor of the show, but, you know, I've known Amir for a long time. And he actually came up to the studio once. He saw me doubled over. It's about a year ago, man. I got these stomach cramps and I couldn't figure it out. And the brother looked and he said, you know, you're dehydrated. He literally drove from where he was to the studio and brought me a case of water and said, you need to drink this.
Yep.
You know, so.
I've been drinking it now for the past week and a half. It's amazing water. What's it called? Antioxidant?
The antioxidant water, man. So if you want to detoxify, it's a great water to try.
And it's also tasted very good.
You know what, man? It tastes very good. And you know, he told me, and you do the research yourself, guys. I'm not a water expert. I just go by what he says. Or they say I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. But what he says is that the what is it, the Poland Spring and some of those other waters, that they really have no nutritional value at all. You know, and so you should be looking for something that has 9.5 pH. And if people are posting stuff in the thread right now regarding that, I can't see it. I got to log on to Facebook, and I'll do that in a second. But outside of that, man, there are a couple things. Well, before we get into stuff, where were you when the skies opened last night?
It's funny because I was sitting in my kitchen looking out my sliding doors and looking at all my patio furniture. Just all of a sudden, in a matter of seconds, just disappeared from one side, how it was all set up, to one corner of the patio. It was like amazing. My daughter put it on Facebook, and it has gotten a lot of views because it looked like it was a scene from a scary movie. How it happened, you know, it's like the cameras from the backyard picked it up, and it was amazing. I was like, whoa, and scary.
Yeah, man. I was sitting at the dining room table looking out the window, and I looked out the window because all of a sudden it got dark, and that's what made me go and look, right? So I'm looking out the window, Butchie, and all of a sudden the tree that's in the back, it's blowing almost sideways. And I'll tell you, when I lived in Scotch Plains, there was a hurricane, I mean, not a hurricane, there was a tornado that actually came down Farley Avenue in Scotch Plains. So I know what that feeling feels like, right? And I was sitting in the backyard with my kids. It was about 96 degrees that day. And to give you some perspective, you know where Sears is on 22?
Yes.
Right. My house, literally, if you pulled into that Sears parking lot that's in Scotch Plains, you pulled into that Sears parking lot. If you came all the way to the back, there's a brook. My house was the house that was on the opposite side of that brook, right? So we could look up at the Watchung Mountains from the backyard, and it was 96 degrees, and the sun was out, man. It was beautiful. We had just bought a slip and slide for the kids, and I'll tell you, don't buy a slip and slide, man. You know, when I read the directions on that thing and it started talking about death, like literally, it said could cause death. I said, okay. But anyway, so the kids are sliding on it, and I'm sitting out there, and then all of a sudden, 96-degree day, a cool breeze came across my shoulder. When I say cool, it made me shiver. It was that chilly of a breeze. So it went from 96 to that. I turned around, because it was just a bizarre thing. Put hairs, stand up on your arm. I looked behind me at the Watchung Mountains, and the skies were black. They were still sunny where I was, but literally right across 22, which is where Watchung is, they were black. I said to the kids and to my then wife, I said, we gotta get in the house. So I don't know what's about to happen, but we gotta get in the house. So we start moving stuff as quickly as we could in the house, but before we could get everything in the house, Butchie, the wind had picked up so much, it was blowing the garbage. The garbage cans had gone airborne. Stuff in the yard was just airborne, and we just abandoned what was left, and we ran into the house. I had a wine cellar in the basement, and I told everybody, I said, go down to the wine cellar. So they all went down there, and at this point, because, I'm a guy, and I'm stupid, so I go up to the living room, and we had this picture window, but it was inset, because we had a porch that you could put rocking chairs on, right? And I'm watching the rain, and it's coming down vertically, but then all of a sudden, Butchie, in front of my eyes, the rain turns and it's going horizontally down the street.
Oh my goodness.
And if you've never seen that before, it is so surreal that it's frightening. And I'm just standing there, and then all these things start coming in my head, like, okay, it's a tornado coming, and then you start thinking about the house, and you start thinking about the compression in the house, and and the sucking the oxygen out of the house and all those things. And then my wife is yelling, "Eric, get downstairs, get downstairs!" And I'm looking because I'm fascinated. So I'm literally like a deer in headlights. I finally go downstairs, and the roar that they tell you hear, it sounded like a train going down Farley Avenue. Lasted probably less than a minute. Seemed like it was a long time. When it was over, right? Go outside, you see branches, you see leaves literally littered the street, man. Like we had to get like rakes and shovels to get all the leaves up and the branches and everything. And I turn on the news, and they say that a tornado hit Scotch Plains. Now, a block and a half from where my house was, there was a playground. So Front Street intersected Farley Avenue, and if you go one more block, I guess that would be south, you got to the playground. It had uprooted the trees in the playground. It uprooted the entire jungle gym that was in there for the kids to play. The thing touched down in the playground. So when I saw what was going on yesterday,
I posted it. I reposted the video on my Facebook page so people could see what I experienced. And I actually was looking at this while it was happening. It just so happened that the security cameras of the house picked it up also. But it's surreal how it happened in a matter of seconds. Bing, bing, bing. Like, whoa.
Yo, man. And somebody in a thread said, "Don't mess with Mother Nature," and you're 100% right. You can't control that. The force of that is incredible. I also remember, because I'm just fascinated with it, man. I remember remember Hurricane Gloria that never was?
Yeah.
It was supposed to come. This is back in the late 80s. Was it late 80s, early 90s? We were supposed to get Hurricane Gloria, and at that point I was working as a nail. What was I called? A nail technician. I had gotten my cosmetology license, and I was working for a beauty salon called Cheryl's up on Central Avenue in East Orange. And everybody, all of the stores were boarding up the windows with the 3/4-inch plywood, man, in anticipation of Hurricane Gloria. And I'm one of those guys, again, man, where I wanted to see it. I'm like, where is it? It better come. And I guess I was 19, 20 years old, so again, I'm stupid, right? And it never came. It was quiet. And they said on the news that we were in the eye of the storm. So like right in the center, it's quiet, but all of the devastation was happening around us. But that day, if you remember, was crazy too, because there were no birds. It was like complete silence from nature. Like, you saw no squirrels, you saw no birds, you saw no anything. The dogs and the cats were all very docile because they knew something was happening. But the hurricane never came. And then when we finally got, something that was devastating, which was Sandy, right? Dude, I'm telling you, I got all these stories, man. I was dating this young lady during the time, and we had like a mini breakup, right? She was living in Bloomfield, and I decided that I was going to go home, and I was living in Berkeley Heights, so I drove myself home, and that happened, I believe it was on a Monday night or a Thursday night, because it was a football game, so it was either a Thursday night football game or a Monday night football game. So I drive home, and I'm sitting there, and the house that I was renting up there was like in the middle of the woods, so like huge trees, old trees all around the frickin' house, like a log cabin kind of thing. And I'm sitting there, and I turn the TV on, and just kind of upset about the argument that she and I just had. And when I turned the TV on to watch the game, the lights went out, like all the power went out. So I'm like, man, I could have been down in Bloomfield watching the game. And then I called her to see if her lights went out because I was concerned. And she said no. And then she expressed to me that she was hurt that I left because we knew that Hurricane or Superstorm Sandy was coming. And, you know, she said, I don't know why you didn't stay. So I decided to get in my Jeep, my trusty Jeep.
The one
right?
that you got now?
No.
Another one?
Wait a minute. Is it the one that I have now? Butchie, it is the one that I have now. So I get in the Jeep and I head down to Bloomfield from Berkeley Heights as Sandy makes landfall.
Wow.
So now I'm on 78, Butchie. Well, even before I got on 78, trees had already started falling in Berkeley Heights. So I'm driving, and like in the middle of the night, to see a tree that fallen when the lights are out, you don't see the tree until you're right up on it. And then you don't really know what it is. Your eyes adjust. I like had to slam my brakes, man. And then in the Jeep, I had to go up on the sidewalk, go around the tree, because I'm getting to Bloomfield. I get on 78. The wind is so strong. The tractor trailers on 78 are being blown one lane over. And you think that I'd have enough sense to go, hey, listen, I love you. I hope that things work out. Hunker down. I'm heading back home. I'll talk to you in the morning. Nope. I keep going. Butchie. And it was the craziest ride all the way to Bloomfield. But I got to Bloomfield. Power did not go out in Bloomfield. I got to watch the entire game.
My question, and I'm sure the listening audience, are you still with that young lady?
We're friends.
Okay, good.
We're friends.
Okay.
You know, and if I needed to, you know, go and drive that again, I mean, I wouldn't be so reckless about it, but you know, you have friends, you know, and you're willing to do certain kinds of things for friends, right?
Yeah.
I don't have many of them. I have a lot of acquaintances and associates, but friends, I got very, very few of them. And the ones I do have, I do anything for them, you know. But listen.
Wait a minute. What about the new edition of Twitter? Talk a little about it.
Oh, dude, yes. So if you go to, and we got to figure this out.
Okay.
Right now, I'm using my personal Twitter account, which is, I think it's Eric Dawson NWK. That's the Twitter feed. So if you guys have Twitter, do me a favor. Go to Eric Dawson NWK, like the like Newark, right? The abbreviation for Newark, and let us know if the Twitter feed is live. I can't, we got it up, but I can't confirm it until after I'm off the show. But if somebody goes there and you can confirm that it's on, that would be great.
Awesome.
Right?
Awesome.
So we're on Twitter. Yeah, let's do the little check down. So here's the check down, guys. We talked about doing this thing in June where we were going to hit the streets and ask the mighty question, why? And to date, I have 43 people who have agreed to hit the streets with me for 4 hours every Saturday for 10 weeks. We're going to get coffee, and we're just going to go knock on doors. We're not going to get walk sheets from the county. We literally want to touch every single door we can and ask the people the question why, right? We want to talk to them about term limits. We want to talk to them about double dipping. We want to talk to them about line voting, whether or not we should be pushing to get rid of line voting and block voting and do like they do in Maryland, where they just list your name on the ballot in alphabetical order. That way the voter has to find you. The voter has to know about you. See, in line voting, you could take, John Smith, who has never done anything, and you put him on the line, and the person's going to win, right? And we should make the voter have to really do a little research.
Let's talk a little bit about how we change that. Okay, how is it? What's the process to change something like, let's say, term limits or even line voting? What's the process?
So term limits, I called the county. You need 10,400 signatures.
From Newark alone?
From Newark. If we're
Newark.
talking about doing it in
Okay.
Newark, right? You need 10, and you got to go look. There's a percentage of the total electorate that you need.
Okay.
And so for East Orange, Irvington, you'd have to figure out what that percentage is.
Okay.
But look, I'm hoping that the 43.
So what happens if you get the 10,000 signatures?
Then you, once you have the 10,000 signatures and they're validated, then a referendum will go on the ballot. There'll be a question that's asked to the public that says, do you want term limits or not? And people will get to vote yes or no.
And when does that question gets put up?
Well, it would go up on a November ballot. On the November
ballot?
yeah, only in November.
Okay.
And so we could have done it, but we weren't organized. So I'm saying if we begin to go and ask the question, why now, and we start to organize people, we can list that and we can get those signatures, and we can certainly get term limits, man.
And so actually, right now, the only way that could be change is if the actual politicians that are out there in office, they take a decision and take a vote. But the citizens has the right to collect a petition, right, and put it in the ballot and let the citizens make that decision. Is that what you're saying?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
That's absolutely correct.
It sounds like we're on the right path.
Yeah, man. Let's take this call. Hello, caller. Go.
Good morning, buddy. Shalom alaikum, my brother.
Walaikum assalam, man. How are you?
This is Alif. My new name is Alif. 21,000 votes. Muhammad.
What's going on, man?
Ain't nothing, man. I see you thinking and wishing and dreaming and stuff like that, man. Hey, but Butchie, and you know too, Eric. Butchie and Eric, Sharp James, remember, had 25,000 votes back in the day, from the 80s on up, and he controlled the county with that. Joey D wasn't as strong when Sharp James was around.
Joe D was not even around at that time.
Right.
He was still a councilman. A freeholder at large.
Right, but nobody was Sharp. Nobody. The governors had to come see Sharp. Everybody, because he had that 25,000 votes. He was like the giant stick in the Essex County and stuff like that.
So let me ask you a question. Do you believe in term limits? Do you think we should have them?
No, I think that Ross should get to 20 years.
Well, we're not talking
We're
about
not talking about
Rad.
No, I'm just
We're
saying,
talking
I'm just
about
saying,
you got East Orange, you got Orange, you got Bloomfield,
all
you
of them
got.
should get the time.
So,
I think all of them, like the 12 years that Wayne got, the 20 years,
and what did Wayne
1,000.
do? What did Wayne do in 12 years? What was
Well,
done
I
in
don't
the?
want to go. I thought Wayne did a wonderful job in Everton, but I don't want to go into that.
And so when you look at Augie, who's done 24 years, when you look at Quintana, who's done 24 years, you look at Mildred, who's been there for however long, you look at 36% poverty in the city of Newark, and you say just let him keep going.
I say that.
Let him keep going. Just let him keep going. Just let him keep going.
Ali, if you don't want to address it, huh?
Thanks for the call, Ali. We'll let him keep going.
I want to say this.
Real quick, I got another call coming.
Okay, real quick. I want to say that nobody is getting anything passed in Essex County unless Mayor Ross with his 21,000.
Thanks for the call. All right. So we just keep going with failure. Hello, caller, go.
Hey, Eric, we have term limits. It's called the election. If people don't want someone, let them vote them out.
Well, why don't we do that with the president then? But then wait. Well, then why don't we do that with the president? Why don't we do that with the governor?
If I had been in America in 1930, whatever it was, when they decided to stop that, right? After FDR had the 12 years or 14 years, whatever he had, I would have said, hey, if people like them, keep them.
So you don't see
There's nothing wrong with that.
So
if
you don't see?
Like
do you
them,
see
do
you see the value at all in term limits?
Truthfully, I think it's just undemocratic.
Undemocratic.
I think it's undemocratic to tell someone that their job has a limit, right? Because you don't do it when it comes to other things, right? If that's the case, then should we say that for everybody?
Well, but let's understand. Well, no, I'm not going to hold up. I'm going to answer. I'm going to respond to that. So when we talk about a job, let's be clear. We're talking about people who are running to serve. Right? Wait, so let's be clear, because when you define it as a job, you're implying that somehow it equates to something in corporate America. These people are coming in there saying, I want to serve. I want to be a part of serving government, right? If it's the president says, I want to serve our country. If it's a mayor says, I want to serve our city, right? And so to say, well, okay, you can serve for 2 years. And then at the end of your 2 years, right, we'll have, there'll be other people who will run, and those people will serve. So we're talking service. So we have to begin to change the thinking, right? Because yes, they are functioning in the literal sense in a job, But when we don't put in the forefront of what they're supposed to do, which is to serve, right, then I think that we get confused.
Okay, and I can go with that. But then again, would we say that police officers are serving the community by doing their job? And if that's the case, should they have a limit?
But nobody has to vote for the police.
Right. So the police are. So now we're really going down some crazy rabbit hole, right? So the police are not elected. No. So the police are not elected. The police are not elected. It's a big difference.
Isn't the sheriff elected?
Is the sheriff elected? Yes.
No. I'm not trying to be argumentative with you because I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's a fine line, right? But the thing is, right? Your sheriff is elected. Should we say that?
I think that there should be. So my thing is, I think that.
Look.
So here's what I'm saying. All I'm saying is this: just like you're saying that we have elections and people decide, put it on the ballot.
Exactly. Let the people
That's all
decide.
we're saying. We're saying just put it on the ballot and let the people decide. So if you're correct, Farrakhan, then folks will vote it down and say, no, we shouldn't have term limits.
You're right.
I'm not saying that we self-impose term limits.
I can respect that.
Right. So I'm simply saying get the signatures. So if you have enough people to get 10,400 signatures in the city of Newark, then you get a referendum on the ballot, and then you ask the people the question. And if you're correct that people should decide and folks should be able to run and stay in office for 24, 34, 46 years, and enough people vote to say, yes, that's the way it should be, then that's how it will be.
Okay, but I only have one question to that.
Sure.
If we're going to put, and because this is the thing about putting stuff on the ballot that bothers me, right? It bothers me that they put stuff on the ballot, but then they don't educate the people about what they're putting on the ballot.
Right.
All those little questions, and referendums, nobody has the discussion with the people. Half the people don't even know what's going to be.
Right. No, you're 100% right. But this is why, Farrakhan, we're doing what we're doing every day from 10 to 12. So the 43 people, and maybe 1 or 2 days during the 10 weeks, we can get you to close your barbershop a little early. Come join us, right? We will be educating the people about all of these things. We'll be asking them about term limits. We'll be educating them on what line voting is and block voting is. We'll be educating them on what it is for these politicians to be double dipping and how it impacts their pockets because of the massive pensions that they walk away with.
Eric, do you know that?
You schooled me on that last year.
Right.
You explained to me that whole breakdown of the double dipping, the pensions and all of that, because I didn't really have a problem with it until you told me. And then I understood in a whole different way what was really going on.
And so what I did to you in terms of explaining it, we want to go into the community because I agree with you, Farrakhan. But we talked about this yesterday, right? So I hope to build on the shows that we have. The folks in power have no interest in educating people.
Absolutely not.
No, that's true.
And you know something,
Thanks for the call.
Another issue that gets eliminated, a lot of issues get eliminated that we have right now with the electorate is once you do term limit, there is no double dipping.
Right.
Okay? There is no line voting.
Right.
There is none of that because it really doesn't matter because you got a 2-term, okay, to do what you're gonna do and move on and give new thoughts and new mind and new spirit to the leadership in our community.
I mean, I want you to look.
Let me tell you something, Eric. Term limit is something like going to war right now because every politician that have a 10, 15, and 20-year plan of what they're going to do with their double dipping and with all this, you're putting it to question. If you thought that the election that just passed was contentious, wait until this start taking some wind.
Because you know that they're looking at 20-year plans. They're looking at how to build their pensions. That's what they're looking at, and how to get 3 jobs, 4 jobs,
exactly,
and how to amass wealth. They're not thinking about how to build up the community
or cleaning it or anything like of the sorts. I love it. I knew this issue was gonna be, like the issue that people are gonna say, huh?
Yep. But we're coming, man.
You know, it's like you didn't win the election, but you guys are ready to fight. Oh no, listen, we didn't come here to make friends. We came here to fix things.
We came here to fix things. Hello, caller, go. Hello, caller. All right. Hello, caller.
Hello, hi, yeah. So I had to call in because I heard that one guy saying that he doesn't think that term limits are fundamental to a democracy, and I thought that was so silly that I just had to respond to that. I think term limits are absolutely essential to a democracy, and Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, here's what I'll say to this. For everything that we do in terms of educating our children and telling them that, everything that we do in terms of revamping education and telling them that they can do anything, if we don't give them the future, a clear path to power, then what are we really doing? You know what I mean? I mean, look, I think a healthy cycle of leadership is necessary in any democracy. I mean, really, term limits wouldn't work if you were like in a town somewhere in the Midwest that had a population of 500.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe term limits wouldn't work for you. But you know what? In this type of situation, no. We're the largest city in New Jersey. we need term limits.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
All right, so caller, what I want to know is, will you join us and become number 44 on our list of people who will be canvassing the community for 10 weeks? We're going to go every Saturday, 4 hours a Saturday. We're going to meet up, get our coffee, and we're just going to knock on doors and ask the question why, and then inform the people about these different issues.
Well, yeah, I was actually involved with the election before.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually a supporter of Catelia Velez, and I actually worked as a challenger for her at one of the polling stations here.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from the dismal turnout for elected official, for the election, when you look at, cause I've always wanted, I wanted to talk about this too. 3 wards are going to go to a runoff, and it could have easily have been 4. And I think people should look into that. They should really understand and see, look in between the lines, and it'll show them that Team Baraka was a lot more vulnerable than people thought that they were. You know? I mean, and real quick, in terms of the South Ward, I know Khalil Kettle's heart was in the right place in terms of running, and he deserved to run. And this isn't to discourage anyone from running in the future, but I wish they would understand that if the people that voted for him voted for Terrence Bankston, then you could have easily have been looking at a runoff in the South too, and that would be 4 wards.
Well, you wouldn't look at a runoff because if you only had 2 people, you wouldn't have a runoff.
Yeah, you would not.
Right.
It would have to have been 3.
Still, though, just to look at how fractured the vote was.
Well, but what we tried to do, caller, is we tried to inform the folks, and we talked about splitting the vote. And we had so many people call in and tell us how the idea of splitting the vote was a fallacy and it didn't happen, it doesn't happen. But it does. If you just do a postmortem on this past election and you look at the winners and the ones who were the losers, and you look at all of the people who were in the race, what you will clearly see is there was a targeted vote for the incumbent. And then for all of the people who wanted change, they were given too many choices for change, right? And what should have happened was all of the people who were part of change should have consolidated. They should have put their egos aside. They should have gone into a room and they should have said, look, can we agree on the fundamental things here? And if we can, then let's find out who has the best chance of winning, and everybody else get behind them. But here's what we'll ferret out too, caller. A lot of those people, we now realize, they weren't running to serve the community. They just wanted to get in. They just wanted to come up. They wanted to be a part of the pension gang, right? So let's be honest about it, right? And at some point, maybe I'll call the names of the ones who I know were. So maybe it's a good thing in the end that they didn't win, but it's a damn shame that somebody who did have a servant's heart didn't win. You see, but here's where we can take control of that. We can either bitch about it or we can take the bull by the horns. And that's why I'm saying in June, join me. We'll get a cup of coffee. 4 hours out of your Saturday is a small investment in changing the entire landscape of our community and our politics. Because I guarantee you this, caller, I guarantee you this. if in fact the 44, if you say you're going to be the 44th, that'd be great. So if we actually have 44 people that show up and we begin to knock on doors, if we do it 3 weeks consecutively, I guarantee you, we'll be the talk of the town from North Jersey all the way to South Jersey. And like the article I read yesterday, the machine will begin to recalibrate itself to figure out how to deal with us. That's what will happen. I'm telling you, it's but we have to do the work. And what they bet on every single time is that we're not going to do the work. So
people can't see the writing that's on the wall too. In terms of the only ward that was a blowout was the North Ward, where the seat of power for the county runs through directly. It's just like, come on now, how much more do you need that spelled out?
All right, man. Well, listen, bring 5 people. And if you bring 5 people, the coffee is on me for you and your 5 people.
Yeah, and also,
was that a yes?
I mean, that's a yes, but not to be too pessimistic. I mean, I'm more optimistic about things too, only because, people are more aware. People are only going to get more aware. And in between the automatic registering to vote when you get the driver's license, and just the growing voice of the community, I think things can change. It's like chopping down a redwood, as you said.
Yeah. But something, caller, you can only change it if you make the playing field level.
Well, there we go. So I don't want to say things can change. What I want to say, caller, let's change that narrative too. Don't say things can change. Say we can change things. See, because now it involves you. But if you say in a passive way things can change, then I'm concerned that you might not be a part of changing it, right? And so now you sit on the sideline waiting for somebody else. And remember what I said: we're conditioned to accept less, but want more. So we want to change only if somebody else is willing to fight.
But Eric, look at the caller. He picked up the phone and called.
He did?
So yeah,
that's step one.
That's step one.
He's on first base.
Step 2, that's step 2. Step 1, he worked with Catilia Velez in the north as a challenger, or a poll worker as a challenger. That's step 2. That's step 1. Step 2 is that he picked up the phone. And step 3, I don't know how old you are, but if you were with Catilia, you probably are under the 40-year-old, and you are the future, bro. Believe it or not, you are the future.
All right, brother. Well, listen, hit me up on the inbox. We'll get you on the list. We're currently working on designs for shirts to be able to have, right, for folks, so that people know who we are when we're in the community and we're doing this.
Hey, Eric, don't forget about that. On Saturday, June 16th, we'll be celebrating the second anniversary.
The tentative date.
Oh, tentative?
The tentative date. Got to get the final okay from Manny, and he said he's designing a hot flyer.
Okay.
The tentative date for us to all gather, and caller, I'd love you to come here too, so I get to meet you as well as many of the other people who call or chime in on Facebook. We're going to have a 2nd year anniversary celebration at 78 Lounge. And the tentative date is the 16th. Saturday, June 16th.
How many people you got for the walking, you said?
We got, well, if this brother is down, we got 44. If he's bringing 5, we got 49.
Well, right now, you got Jose Perez.
Bam.
That just said he's in. Anything to help out.
You understand what I'm saying?
This is how it works,
This is how it works. See, so don't say things can change. Say, I can change things.
We could change
we can change things.
You know something, Eric? This term limit topic.
Thanks for the call.
That we started the show is going to bring a lot of opinions from a lot of different people. What folks do not understand clearly is how this works, and it's very simple. I also believe that they give you a certain amount of time to collect those 10,000 signatures. 10,400. Is that what you said?
10,400.
You got to collect at least 15,400.
Right.
Because the county is gonna. The county is gonna start chopping down those 15,400. Chopping to try to eliminate it so it won't go on the ballot. So what this takes is folks that step up to the plate and say, we're going to help. I guess we will find out all the particulars about that. But I'm gonna tell you something. Of all the
Renee Brooks says she's in. There we
right,
go.
There he goes. Listen, of all the movements that you could start, and this is something that I've been thinking about. How do you create an organization, and how do you create a movement? Well, this is it. I looked at all the particulars of the elections, and if you start with, and this is my belief, and it's only my opinion, Eric, if you start with the term limit ballot submission to be able to get to that point, that create a topic that a lot of people know. One of the problem is that these folks, they are allowed to keep on running again and again and again, even if they're not doing a good job.
Right.
Okay, and we don't need to talk about a good job. We know they're not doing a good job. I mean, they're excellent at winning elections.
Yeah.
They are excellent. They have the whole formula. They have it down pat, from sequestering the seniors in the senior building and not allowing no other persons to go into the building to campaign and to give their platform. You know, that alone is a gimmick that I believe, Eric, so heartily, that if you take each and every one of those senior buildings to court as a class action suit from all the candidates that were not allowed to go into those buildings, but yet were allowed, they allow the how do you call it, the incumbents to go in and campaign. If you take that to court, because they do receive federal money, they have to comply with that. But because no one has actually taken them to court, they keep on getting away with it again and again and again. I'm a sole believer in let the court decide, and this is an issue that I believe that it needs to be addressed. So you guys that are lawyers out there that want to take on a real issue on behalf of the community, try to file a lawsuit against all the buildings that did not allow you, the candidate, or your candidate or your prospective candidate into the building to do their legal campaigning, because you cannot allow one to go in and not allow the other ones to go. You have to create a whole platform where they all come in. Now, that's one issue. But when it comes to the term limit, that, right now, Eric, we are sending, what's it called? The storm that we had yesterday. We are sending storm warnings right now. Listen, these guys just found a way of how to make us really get the community again engaged on what happened. And the funny thing about it, November is around the corner.
Yep.
November is around the corner.
Well, listen, we're on it. The other thing I want to mention, right, is I went, and we're creating partnerships, Butchie. I went to World Communications, because you have these different towns that have local papers, right? So you've got the East Orange Record Transcript, right? Or it's called the East Orange Record or the Orange Transcript. You've got the Maplewood South Orange Record. You've got the West Orange Chronicle. You got the Irvington Herald. You've got the Bloomfield Independent Press. You've got the Montclair Times. And then you've got Local Talk. So I went and I picked up the papers and I had a conversation with them. I said, look, what I want to begin to do, because you guys publish every Thursday, and there are local stories in here. There are heroes and sheroes in our community who are doing great work. There are other kinds of things that are being uncovered. And what we want to do is partner with your print organization to bring some of the issues that you put in print, bring them to life on the radio show. They were ecstatic. They were thrilled. So we'll pick up the papers every Thursday, and our team, all of us, will go through them, and then we will begin to go through this local news. See, I think that the Star Ledger has had a pass in being irresponsible. And we need to call it what it is. And then we need to identify all of the other quasi-news organizations that are irresponsible. We need to call them what they are. And to Farrakhan's point, we need to be about the business of educating. And so what I would say to all of you guys, you got to read. You got to read. Don't just tune in to hear, right? Go and search. You can go and get a subscription, an online subscription to the Essex Times, right? And you can get, or the Essex Daily News. You can get an online subscription to Essex Daily News. And if you guys got that subscription, right, you would have access to all of this news that's going on throughout our community. And so, again, when the caller says, I believe that things can change. No, I believe that we can change things. But we have to be educated when we go to battle. We have to understand exactly what is going on. And the only way that we do that is by reading. And I fear that far too few of us read, Butchie.
Well,
but we'll be encouraging that too.
Yep. How do you call it? I look at publications, especially the large publications, as public relation firms. Why do I say that? Because they only print with what you pay them for. Mm-hmm. Okay, they only pay attention at what the paying customer wants the community to read. So that's the way I look at publications. We have to go back to the grassroots communication, which is let the people speak. Okay, let the people express what they feel. When you let a publication tell you what is it what's best for us, or this is the good thing that's happening for us, I have a problem with that, because they're only going to print what they get paid for. Whether they get paid for it up front or they get paid for it in the back, I have a real problem with all of them because of that. Okay, not most of the publications, when I read it and I see how, you're only saying one side of the story, because that's another thing. Most of this publication only print one side of the story. What about the other side of the story? Okay, but the other side of the story doesn't have the money to pay you. It doesn't have the resources to make your life a lot easier with contracts or with whatever you're looking for. So that's the way I feel about that.
So listen, it's gonna take some time.
Yes, but it's gonna be fun. It's fun already.
It's gonna be fun.
I tell a lot of people that I spoke to that that lost election. I tell, listen, you haven't lost anything. You just learned a lesson. Mm-hmm. And when you go through a defeat like you just went through, because anything not winning is called a defeat, right? You use it to move forward and to get stronger and get smarter. Don't let your emotions stop you, or your emotions get you mad enough that you don't want to continue. No, that should be the motivator to even get even more on board. I look at defeats as a challenge. Me personally, every defeat in my life has always led me to a challenge. It has always pointed me to a better path in my life. So I tell everybody that, listen, right now we're creating something, because I'm sure you guys heard me say organization. Well, believe it or not, we're creating an organization right in front of your eyes. Now we need your participation. And is it an uphill battle? Everything is an uphill battle. What, are you kidding me? Are they gonna try to stop you and block you and convince you not to do it? Of course, but that is part of the challenge. That's why this platform is so important, to continue for people to keep on sharing it. Like right now, if you're listening or you say share it, we on 3 platforms. We on Twitter, we on YouTube, and we on Facebook. So please share it. And also, if someone has gone into Twitter and we're on, please let us know. Let us know, because it's important that everyone that could get the community radio information that we put out, we want them to want to hear it, and we want to have an opinion, because you cannot have a movement if you don't allow opinions.
Absolutely. And don't forget, people can also dial in and listen in online, listen on their phone rather. Well, actually, there are 2 other ways. People can listen in on their phone, 641-793-8228, or they can also go to rth2000.com and listen to the podcast. So we got a multitude of ways that people can listen, right? So we're trying to meet people where they are, and we're in the process of building a website.
Awesome.
Right, so we'll have a website, so you'll be able to go and get archived shows and be able to share those shows. The idea, guys, is to inform, engage, and empower the community. to change the trajectory of our lives.
Exactly.
That is the goal. So listen, man. I got some information. There's gonna be a in about 2 weeks' time. I'll give you the exact date later, guys. Because I'm in touch with the law firm that is currently suing the city over this water thing. The water thing's not going away, and but the Eric Dawson Radio Show has now partnered with the law firm. So I want you to understand. See, so the movement. See, Butchie, I'm telling you. So we have partnered with it, and we're going to have some of the folks from the law firm on to talk about this. So we're working that out now, but it is not going away. It is as bad as Flint. Trust me.
Wow.
Trust me. And so while the mayor continues to say that there is nothing wrong, there is something dreadfully wrong. And so there are a couple of nonprofits now that are involved, and we're putting together, they're giving me the information. I'm going to design a one-sheeter, so it'll be a two-sided 8.5 by 11 that we're going to leaflet out into the community. We're going to be pulling a whole bunch of people, and I'm going to be relying on you guys to take 25 of them or 30 of them and just pass them on your blocks. We'll figure out where to meet up so I can give you guys bunches of them. But there's going to be a town hall meeting that is going to clearly lay out all these things. But the biggest thing that I found out through talking to them is they said the biggest information to pass on to people is this: don't boil your water.
Wow.
Because boiling it actually concentrates the enzymes and things that are in the lead that's in the water. So that's the worst thing that you can do. The city is supposed to be putting some chemical in the water, as well as abating it through their service lines. But they have yet to provide a plan, as has been asked by the government. They still haven't provided a plan.
Okay.
And we believe at this point that there is a massive cover-up.
Wow.
Because they recognize what they did, and the idea for them now is to cover this thing up. But we're in it for the long haul. I was on the phone yesterday, Butchie, with this law firm for 2.5 hours with these people. We were on a conference call. We're in it to uncover it and to deal with it. So there's going to be some stuff's going to hit the fan regarding that. The other piece is Willie Parker.
Yes, the lawsuits.
The Willie Parker thing is not going away either. In fact, now, taxpayers, I want you to understand this.
But let's call it what it is, the Willie Parker lawsuit.
The Willie Parker lawsuit.
Yeah, okay.
But the taxpayers are on the hook for this.
Of course.
And I was reading a document, and I'll put these documents up in the thread, guys, later after the show, that discovery. So when you get ready for a trial, right, you have one team ask the other team for discovery and then vice versa, and they're supposed to turn that over. Because that's the information, that's the stuff that I'm going to use to defend my client. But you have a right to see what it is that I have so that you could prepare your case, and vice versa, right? They've been asking the city of Newark for discovery in particular. And see, I'm in touch with some people about this too. Folks are realizing at those levels, like, oh man, we can get information out through the Eric Dawson Radio Show. So I get these phone calls now, Butchie. They now have realized that Willie Parker was sending his city emails to his personal email in order to archive them in the event that something went down.
Like right now.
Like right now. So if the city attempted to do what they say Hillary did, which was bleach the server and get rid of all of this stuff, well, now everybody realize Willie Parker got stuff. Right? So word to the wise, before I continue this, if you work for the city and you were saving stuff, emails, they now know, and they'll be able to see, because that's how they know Willie Parker did it. So just be careful. Call a police hold. So now with the Willie Parker thing, they have been asking, and Michael Critchley is a good friend of mine. In fact, he's my attorney. Been my attorney since I was 19 years old.
He's the attorney representing Willie
He's
Parker.
he's the attorney representing Ras Baraka.
Oh, okay.
Big money. Big money. And not only
is that the lawyer that the city, our taxpayer,
yes.
is paying for?
Well, we're paying for that one, then we're paying for one for Mitty, then we're paying for one for Jack Kelly, then we're paying for one for the personnel director, whatever.
And we're also paying one for Luis Quintana. Don't forget that Luis Quintana is also being sued.
In the Willie Parker case?
No.
Oh.
From Butchie Nieves to him.
Ah, okay.
Okay, for that wrongful termination and for the reason he terminated. And the city is paying also for that.
For that attorney too?
For that attorney too.
Wow. Wow.
So, let's open up the can of worms.
So you getting hit as a taxpayer trying to sue and deal with it. So with the Willie Parker thing, they're asking for discovery that they should have had by now. But on at least, I think, 5 or 6 occasions that I read in this document, the attorneys have kicked the can down the road. Now, I want you to understand this. These are all billable hours. So if my law firm sends your law firm a request, and then your law firm replies, those are billable hours. Then my law firm sends you another request, your law firm replies in denial, that's more billable hours. So nothing's being done, but taxpayers are being billed. Let's take this call. Go, caller.
Well, this is Alif. The Willie Parker.
Alif, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this. So I'm not gonna do this. If you want to come in and have a conversation about it, right? But you're not gonna hijack the show by being a Baraka mouthpiece.
Absolutely.
Right. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
I just got an inbox from Jose Perez
that
Twitter feed is working amazing.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Jose.
Beautiful.
Appreciate that.
So I would love to, Alif, have you come in and we can have a copious conversation about the Willie Parker thing. Or you can schedule to be a call-in guest for an hour and we can talk about a topic. But to be a mouthpiece for those people who are being sued, let them call in, let them defend themselves. Right.
And don't get me, Alif, I got you, brother. You gotta defend yours, and no, I really do. I got you, and I respect it. Just that we're not gonna let the show be about Alif, okay? It's not gonna be that. We spend too much time putting this together and doing all this research, and also a lot of folks that want to listen to the show for the information want to know, is this what's really going on? And you calling every 10 minutes, it's not cool, and it's not going to work.
Well, to defend the mayor.
I
mean, to give 30-second ads about the mayor and defend the mayor. And look, my thing is this: if you want to have a conversation, we can schedule it. Be happy to book you. You got 2 hours. We could talk about the Willie Parker stuff. We could talk about the water stuff. We could talk about the Santos stuff. We could talk about a whole bunch of stuff. So, Alif, hit me up on the inbox. Book a time to come in, and we'll have the conversation.
Make it on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, because I want to be here. Okay, those are my days.
It's gonna be a sizzler. Cause I tell you, because look, I get all kinds of documents, man. People send stuff here. It's unmarked. It's in yellow envelopes.
Let me tell you something, Eric. I said it at the end of the election. You don't always win by winning the election. You put yourself very vulnerable, especially when you already was vulnerable before the election. Because I major props to the machine. They know how to win an election. Major props.
And so what we do?
But what happens after the election? Those cases and those issues don't go away. Actually, it amplifies, because now people want to know more, and people want to be able to say, so what's next? And this is what this show is doing. And like you said, Eric, we ain't going nowhere.
We're not going anywhere. So when we come back from this break, I think this is the song I'm trying to play. I'm trying to, a little house music, man. Something to wake me up. So when we come back from this break, I'm going to ask you to hold until we're done with the break. And when we come back from the break, I'm going to read a little bit of the stuff that came in from the lawyers from Willie Parker stuff. So we'll be right back.
Till you came around, I had my feet on the ground.
Yeah, this is it. Imagine that.
So much for that. Just an ordinary day till you came around, and now my life's upside down. Imagine that. And it's all because I heard you say. And it's all because I heard you say. And it's all because I walked your way. And I heard you say, I heard you say, and I heard you say, I heard you say, and I heard you say, I heard you say, I heard you say, I heard you say, and I heard you say, I heard you say, and I heard you say, and I heard you say, and I heard you say. I'm just right. You got to sit tight. Close your eyes and let your head roll down. Get your feet up off the ground. Just an ordinary day.
Oh my God.
Till you came around, I had my head straight and sound. They've told me that just an ordinary day till you came around, and now my life's on the bounce. Just like that. And it's all because I walked your way. And it's all because I heard you say. And I should've known to stay away. But I heard you say, I heard you say, and I heard you say, I heard you say, and I heard you say, I heard you say, I heard you say, I heard you say, and I heard you say, I heard you say, and I heard you say, and I heard you say, 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 and I heard you say. And it's all because I walked your way. And it's all because I heard you say. And I should've known to stay away. But I heard you say.
Wow.
Yo, Butchie.
Wow.
Butchie.
Oh my God.
Yo,
that
we getting
was awesome.
we getting ready for the celebration,
I'm
Butchie.
telling you, man.
We getting ready. 78 Lounge. 78 Lounge.
That's
What?
right.
You want
Also, props to the 78 Lounge,
Mastering
man.
is a pain.
They have always
spending time
stood
with-
up to the plate,
Right.
and we thank you for it.
Well, and so beyond this, beyond just this thing, I talked to Manny. I said, man, look, I'd like to create a partnership with you. We're about partnerships, right? So I said, I'd like to create a partnership with you and like you to become a sponsor of the Eric Dawson Radio Show. Bam, done.
Good, good.
So there are a lot of things that we're going to be doing with 78 Lounge.
Awesome.
Coat drives, food drives, clothing drives, toy drives during holiday seasons. We'll be working with 78 Lounge to
Is this also
put
a
scholarships
restaurant?
together.
Is this also a restaurant?
Yep.
Oh
To put
my
scholarships
goodness.
together. You know, so there are a whole lot of things. Maybe even create some partnerships with, you know, some of the food pantries to deal with some of, you know, the, you know, I don't like to call them homeless. I like to call them neighbors without addresses. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm hoping to be able to, you know, to convince Manny to get involved with in the community.
Awesome, Manny.
Yeah, man.
Props to you, bro.
Props to you, Manny. Let's take this call. Go, caller.
Any Friday, Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day you want.
Oh, cool. So
let's make it right now on the air.
Yeah.
It could be this Friday, it could be Monday, Wednesday, and next Friday.
Oh, no. We'll see you Friday.
Friday.
Hey, listen, man.
This Friday, okay.
This
okay.
Friday.
Absolutely.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right. I'll see you on Friday, brother. There we go. See, we get it done.
That's it,
right?
man.
So we're not going to run from the conversation.
So don't forget, folks.
Right.
Tune in this Friday. Is going to be a hot one because Alif Muhammad, is that his name? Alif Muhammad?
Yeah.
Alif Muhammad is going to be here live with us. Awesome. That's
All
what
right.
we're looking
So
for.
now I'm going to read this. This is from the attorney. This is dated April 26th. It says, Dear Judge Dixon, this firm, along with the Fluid, Herber, and Hogan firms representing Willie Parker in the above referenced matter, in accordance with the scheduling order in this matter, docket number 19, I am writing to respectfully request leave of the court to file a motion to compel discovery, including attorney's fees and costs, against individual defendant Mayor Baraka. So now this firm is now pleading with the judge because of the ambivalence of the attorneys of Ras Baraka. As referenced in the parties' joint status letter dated March 29th, 2018, docket number 25, Mayor Baraka previously did not respond to the plaintiff's first request for production of documents, plaintiff's first set of interrogatories by the original March 9th, 2018 date, right? To date, the mayor has still not responded and has not provided any responsive documents. Since the original discovery deadline, counsel for Mayor Baraka has made a myriad of representations, including representations by omission, concerning when discovery responses would be propounded specifically. On March 9th, 2018, I sent Mayor Ras Baraka's counsel an email asking for the status of the outstanding discovery responses. Mayor Baraka's counsel office did not respond. On March 12th, 2018, I sent Mayor Baraka's counsel's office an additional email, again requesting an update on the mayor's outstanding discovery responses. Mayor Baraka's counsel office did not respond. On March 13th, 2018, I called Mayor Baraka's counsel office requesting an update, and I was told that the discovery would be in plaintiff's hands no later than March 16th, 2018, and that Mayor Baraka's office was meeting with the mayor on March 14th or 15th to finalize. Or on March 19th, 2018, we called Baraka's counsel's office because discovery responses were not provided. So they said they were going to provide it, said we're meeting with them. So all of these things, we still not providing. On March 29th, the parties submitted a joint status report where plaintiffs referenced the mayor's outstanding discovery. Mayor Baraka's counsel's office did not respond. 2 weeks later, on the eve of a motion filing date, Mayor Baraka's counsel sent a letter dated April 12th, which stated that the mayor's discovery will be purportedly provided shortly. After April 23rd, so they sent a letter to Willie Parker's people on the 12th. After like the date was looming and the judge was getting ready to do something, saying, okay, we're going to give it to you on April 12th. Then it never came. So now on April 23rd, right, 2018, and certainly within the next 2 weeks, a copy of that letter is attached as an exhibit. In response, they still have not received anything. And so, I'm telling you, all of this is costing money. So not only did they do what they did to, what allegedly did to Willie Parker, right? They're now doing it to the taxpayer, right? Just with blatant disregard. I wonder if Mitty had a legal bill coming to him, if Jack Kelly had a legal bill coming to him, right? Had to put up a retainer, and then had a bill coming every week to them for this foolishness, if they would be okay with it. But because it's taxpayer money, that law firm just does whatever they want to do. And that's why we said when the original number was like $125,000, we said that's just the beginning.
That's only the beginning.
That's only the beginning.
That's
This thing's gonna get into the millions.
Mm-hmm.
in terms of what taxpayers are going to wind up paying these lawyers.
Yep.
All because this administration thought that they were powerful enough to be able to strong arm a corporation counsel into doing something that corporation counsel said was illegal.
And then fire him.
Follow him to his house with police officers. Right? Interrogate, harass him, and then not just fire him, Butchie, but they humiliated him. They humiliated him before they fired him. Suffered 2 heart attacks.
Yeah. And you can't hide 2 heart attacks. You can't hide the whole process. You can't hide, you could run around all you want, because I understand the whole legal wrangling that's going on. Okay? And it's all
but at taxpayers' expense. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So if you go and you got your own money and you got this legal wrangling going on, then that's your business, right? Those are your dollars.
Right.
And you're getting your attorney to do whatever you need to do.
Right.
But here you are, a public servant,
Right.
one, who is supposed to be functioning with complete transparency and has a fiduciary responsibility to taxpayers. And so now what you've done is you've just blown open the budget for what's going to be paid to these lawyers.
Eric, let's look at the other end of what's going on. There's a lot of employees right now that are believing that because they were not full with the Baraka movement, okay, the whole team, they are going to be finding themselves fire or reasons to get rid of them. Again, they have the right also to retain an attorney and sue for that, because that's called political retribution. It doesn't matter how you try to maneuver it. You come back and you get fired after election. That is political retribution, all totally against the law. So there's more lawsuits coming in, I believe. If they going through because I could see them going like this: we're gonna get rid of this person, we're gonna get rid of that person, and let me tell you, there's law firms looking at Newark after this election and say, okay, who are we gonna go represent to sue the city for this unlawful termination? Because there's another game that's being played that people don't talk about it. But in this platform, we ain't going nowhere. We're going to talk about everything. So any dirt that you throw out there, we're going to uncover it. We're going to, sweep it to the side, uncover it, and talk about it. And trust me, Eric, no one in the administration wants for those issues to be brought up to the table and to be brought up to the surface.
Well, we talked about a pattern prior to the election. And the pattern being, a lack of transparency. And the easiest way to get to the heart of whatever the situation is by just having an open conversation about it. So when I read the documents that are coming out about the water, and you have this group present a letter to the mayor saying, hey, look, based on your tests, not our tests, your tests, that you submitted to us, we want to let you know that in some cases you have 3 times the acceptable level of lead. In other cases, you have as much as 9 times the amount. And what we want to know is what you're doing to resolve this. How are you handling your service system? 22,000 pipelines running through the city of Newark. How are you managing that? What are you doing? What is your plan? In the same way that they're stonewalling here, Ken Lewis and the rest of them stonewalled that group for months.
And this is the same group that took to court
Flint. That's right. Right. So this group has no skin in the game outside of wanting to advocate for environmental issues.
Yeah, what's causing all the cancer in our children, not excelling in education. These are all little issues that people don't pay attention at. And believe it or not, if I'm a parent, of a child nowadays. I want that answer. I want those answers like now. I want to make sure that my child, while he's going to school, is not being held back because there is some contamination in the water that's affecting his learning or her learning ability. You know, I will have a real big issue. And again, elections are over. That's over. But now let's start asking the real questions.
But here's the. But if we begin to ask the real questions, and we discover that there was an intentional cover-up.
Yep.
Regarding this lead for the sole purpose of being able to ensure winning an election.
Wow.
To me, that's criminal. That's criminal because you put lives at risk. Lives at risk.
Yep.
And so that, for me, elections are only about determining who is most qualified to govern and to do the will of the people. Right? And so if we look and say, well, the will of the people is to, at the very least, live in a safe environment where they don't have to worry about the water they drink. And when the chief executive officer of the city stands up at a podium and says it's absolutely safe, because that's what he said. That's what he said. There's nothing wrong. In fact, he sent out a robocall. Right? He didn't say, let me look into it. Let me check it out. Let me look at the letter that they sent and see where we might not have given them some stuff, because it'd be great to partner with a group like that so that we can ensure that we're doing the very best for the residents of Newark. That's not what was said. What was said was nothing's wrong. These people are bogus. It's all fake news.
It's all politics.
It's all politics.
That's what I heard.
Right?
Oh, that's all politics.
So now, if we find out that no, there were some strategists that were within his organization that were fully aware of this thing and knew how it might blow up if he were to come out and say, yes, this is what's going on, and we drop the ball. Right? And so instead, what you do is you push out lies to the community. You, instead of educating them, you allow them to continue to put themselves and their children, their family members in harm's way. To me, Butchie, that's criminal.
Wow. It's like, you sit here. I've been living in Newark all my life, 61 years. And for me to be thinking about that someone will not make all the proper allocations to make sure that we're safe. Because again, at the end of the day, we probably okay, but you're not being transparent enough to allow us to be okay, especially if an organization that took on Flint, Michigan, okay, and it became a world, national and world news. If they're asking for a question, geez, supply it.
But you know what? Know where the irony of this is?
What's that?
When the whole thing with Flint came out, you know what we did as a city? We sent water there.
Look
right?
at that.
We sent checks there. We gave speeches about Flint. That's what our elected leaders did. They took pictures and they sent bottled water or checks and funded water going to Flint.
Wow.
But right here in our own backyard, they didn't open their mouths. None of them.
And let me ask you a question, and I don't know, but hopefully you can answer this. And I know that Luis Quintana and Mildred Crum are commissioners of the water and sewer of the Passaic Valley in Newark and throughout the area. Do they have a say on what goes on with all this?
Well, I mean, they could certainly not just as commissioners, but as council people, they could have used the platform to simply say, "Hey, look, we want to launch an internal investigation and find out why the city didn't feel the need to comply and send this information."
And neither one of them did that.
None of them did it.
Wow.
That's my point. None of them did it.
Wow, this
Now, further, in talking to these lawyers and these environmentalists that I've been talking to, Raz talks about it's the delivery system, and sure, but they said that we still have minerals that are in the water, right, in our main water supply, and how those minerals react to these lead pipes. Wow. In addition to the lead pipes, may be an issue. So all of these things need to be looked at. But when you have a government who stonewalls folks and says, we just, you know what, is not in our political best interest. Doesn't look good for us. From a public relations standpoint, it's not something that we want to be involved in.
Wow. So this goes deep, huh?
Oh, listen, I'm telling
really
you.
Deep.
Look, in talking to these lawyers and these environmentalists, they're in it for the long haul. They are 100% certain that there is a cover-up.
Wow.
100% certain. And they have said that they would leverage the power of this show to get the information out. And I, in turn, said that I would reach out to all of the folks who listen to the show to ensure that the information that we give gets pushed out into the community.
Wow. You know, second term around could be the worst term around.
So maybe part of, when we begin our walk in June, the 49 people?
49.
Maybe, right? So we have 49 people. Maybe we're armed with those leaflets to pass out into the community as well.
It's interesting what's happening right now, because the whole going out and spreading leaflets, and actually questionnaires. They're not leaflets. They're questionnaires of how they feel about term limits and how they feel now about the water issue. Right. That's going to open up a conversation through our city that probably have never been heard before, or will never be heard again. It's very interesting how this is coming together. I'm baffled over here. I don't even know how to even think about what is going to be the outcome, especially when it comes to this water.
Yeah.
Well,
because there are going to be a lot of people, man, who are going to have to answer for a lot of stuff. Hey, listen, guys, call-in number. I put it in a thread and I pinned it. But the call-in number is 973-672-1271. Again, 973-672-1271 or 973-677-3753. If you want to dial in and listen by phone, it's 641-793-8228. And we're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Go, caller.
Hey, gentlemen, good morning. Darren here. How you doing?
Hey, Brother Mark.
Good. Listen, elections have consequences, as we talk about all the time. And I think a lot of energy is put on people, as you guys have been talking about, targeting certain voters to come out for them on election day, and only them. But you may win the election, but you may lose the war ultimately. If you remember when this water situation first hit Newark a few years back, the people from Flint was trying to reach people in Newark then, because I remember speaking to two of the people then myself, because my questions were about the levels, because the mayor kept coming out and talking about this level or that level is not dangerous, et cetera, et cetera. But the most penetrating thing he said that defied common sense for me, that the mayor said, and he continues to keep saying it over and over again, is that the pipes going into the schools has nothing to do with the pipes going into the homes. Now, if anybody in their right mind believes that makes common sense, I mean, I don't even know how he would even fix his mouth to say something so ridiculous. That makes no sense at all. Now, we know that the schools, we know that the piping and the infrastructure in New York is old. We get that. But don't tell us foolish things like that and expect us to believe it. But the only reason he thinks he can do that is because he got people that listen to that and they think everything he says is the gospel. But that makes no sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but this is why, and Farrakhan said it earlier, folks need to be educated. And, we have to be the change. So if we understand that is a core issue, that folks in our community are not educated, we understand that a core issue is that folks in our community are not engaged, right? Then we can continue to talk about it year after year after year, or we can take to the streets, right? And take to the streets and knock on the doors. And look, we're not asking people for a vote. We're not asking them to vote for us. We're just saying, hey, look, we all deserve better. And here are some things that we want to ask you about term limits, about block voting, line voting. We want to ask you about double dipping, what your thoughts are about pensions. Hey, did you know about the water crises? You know what I mean? We want to give. See, that's a whole different thing, right? Because all of the politicians, and I'm counting in that group the ones who were running for office and lost. They were all hitting the streets. But the reason the community didn't respond, Darren, is because they were hitting the streets for selfish reasons. Vote for me. Vote for me. Vote for me. Vote for me. They weren't talking to the residents. They were talking at the residents.
Right.
Right? And then, we see because of the low voter turnout, they were prepared to discard residents. They weren't going to waste their time. They weren't going to waste their time with somebody who they couldn't count as a definite vote, even if it meant having a conversation with them and informing them and empowering them. Right. And so when we ask, why is there so much apathy? Why do people feel as though folks don't give a damn about them? Why do they feel a disconnect from government? Well, it's because government has disconnected them. Government has said to them time and time again, you don't count. You don't matter. See, when I go to the county, I'm going to go look for the super voter. I'm not looking for you. I'm not mailing you anything. I'm not talking to you about anything. And so we have to be those change agents that go into the community. And my hope, I hope too, Darren? With all the partnerships that we're trying to create, and I reached out a couple times. I know that Terrence Bankson, I believe this Tuesday is going to start back on the Eric Dawson show, is that we can forge a relationship with these young people, a.k.a. millennials. Right? And because at the end of the day, we are the bridge. Right? When you look at the age range of the millennial, and you look at the fact that I'm 55, how old are you, Darren?
I'm 53.
53, right? So we are the bridge between them and these older senior citizens that we always talk about, right? So you got these millennials, you got us, and then you've got there. And so I think it's imperative, if we're going to make any serious and sustainable strides in our community, that there's a partnership forged between us.
And I agree. And one other thing, Eric, we need to put not just the mayor on Front Street if it's proven that this stuff is true, and I agree with you that I think it's criminal. We need to put the water department of Newark, because they came out. I remember them coming to Ivy Hill Elementary School, telling us from the stage how, Mr. Martin, there's nothing wrong with the water's fine. I mean, we got a lot of people that need some handcuffs if this is proven to be true. It's criminal.
Well, listen, man, if you go back to the original letter that was sent to the mayor, and you look at all those organizations, I think it was about 10 of them. 10 organizations that were part of that letter chastising the mayor for his failure to comply. There are a lot of people who are getting ready to come at this thing, man. And I'm telling you, and they are convinced, Darren, through my conversations with them, they are convinced that it is a massive cover-up that's taking place right now.
Wow.
All right. So stay tuned. Thanks for the call.
I'm ready, brother.
So, I saw a post, and this may actually drive Brother Alif to call back, because the post was on his page, and the post was about it had Mayor Dwayne Warren. I'm trying to find it. It had Mayor Dwayne Warren. It had Mayor Ras Baraka. It had Mayor Tony Voss. And it had
Mayor Green.
Mayor Ted Green. And it said, "Urban mayors, the future of New Jersey."
Towards the camera. Point it towards the camera.
Oh, I'm going to take it and post it up on a thing. Can they see it? I don't know if they can see it. But that's what it said, right? I'm going to post this in the thread. And so I asked the question, And the question that I asked was, oh, you can see it?
Yeah.
They can see it? Oh, man, see, I didn't know. Here we go. I'm going to post this for you.
That's good enough.
Right? And so the question that I asked was, what is the economic wealth that they're building? See, the measure of success is not to win a political seat. It is to build economic wealth in your community. So if these mayors are still dependent upon the machine to generate the money for them to run for office, that means that the same machine controls what it is that they do ultimately. And so when I see it and I say, well, okay, if you say that they're the future, but but what they've done was they didn't leave the plantation, they just left the cotton field for the shade of the big house. And now you say that's the future of New Jersey. I'm confounded. Because that's not the future I want. The future I want is independence, not subjugation. So, then I posted something that somebody posted in a previous thread of mine. It said, in the black community, the benefits are granted to the individual that holds the office, not the group that voted him or her in. According to Claude Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth, see, because that's what we're talking about, right? Who's doing the work and who's gaining the dollars. So black labor, white wealth. That's why in 1960, there were 103 black elected officials. By 1990, there were 9,000 black elected officials. That's a 900% increase, but the conditions of the black community got worse. So I know Farrakhan's probably chomping at the bit going, see, that's what I'm saying, Eric. So when they post these pictures of these black mayors, it's not enough. And I said this 2 years ago. We get wrapped up in cultural pride. We got a Puerto Rican mayor. We got a Puerto Rican councilman. We got a black mayor. We got a black this. We got a black lieutenant governor. We got a black whatever, black congressman. We got a Latino as a congressman. What are they doing? Because if all they're doing is occupying a seat, then it says that the benefits are granted to the individual that holds the office, and that is it. The community gets nothing. And that's why our communities, even with a 900% increase in representation, our communities have gotten worse. Hello, caller.
Hey, this is Ali. If you know I was calling back, but I'm not upset about that. You were pretty fair on that. You just didn't say what I said. First up, I want to say real quick, two of those mayors were when they got the job, they inherited major deficits. Mm-hmm. The other two, Ted just started. So all I'm saying, what's going on is that they're all starting to work together on different things. I think they had the LBG meeting together. They're going to work together on different things. That's what they said. This is the first time that all the mayors, they're all young men, they're going to work together. I don't know if it's buying together. I don't know what it is. But just give them some time. Ted just got in. Roz just came out of the flick. Tony, they all just got in. Just give them a little time. You gave Sharp James 20 years. You gave Gibson 16.
We gave Sharp James too many years, and we gave Ken Gibson too many years, which is why I promote term limits.
That's why you want to, but it's no magic wand. Both of them. Tony had was under the state supervision, and Roz was under the state supervision. So just give them a little time. That's all I'm saying. And Roz is doing things that never happened before. That was with the fight with a cleaning contract. That $5 million or something like that is gonna go to minorities now. It's gonna go to people. The switching station. You know how many minorities with a 30% set aside they were working? The ones that couldn't get bonded, the general contractor put his bond up for them. It's a lot going on. The mayor said the other day that 42% of the vendors now are minorities. Things are getting better. Just give us a little time. Okay?
I leave. Eric had to step away from the microphone. Okay, but I get where you're coming from. You know, you want a little bit of time, but let's talk a little bit about what has happened with all the leadership that's supposed to have been now African American, right? And want to move us forward, because if you look at our neighborhoods, it doesn't look like it's doing much. If you look at our let's say how many millionaires has been created out of these communities, okay, for the past 30, 40 years. It's non-existent. We're still fighting the fact that everyone else is gaining from the African-American leadership, except the African-American leadership and the Latino community. We're not gaining no ground with that.
Well, so here's what I'll say. And I apologize, guys. This is community radio. I had to move my car so that the truck can back up and empty the dumpster. When you say give them time, I'm not opposed to giving time. But what I'm asking for is a plan. So I'm not just going to give you endless time. So when you come into office, and this is what I'm saying, guys, so now we're getting to the crux of it. So when a person runs and you evaluate what the issues and challenges are in our community, and I always talk about the need of an urban economic development plan. What is the urban economic development plan? Have we seen one from Mayor Ras Baraka? Did we see a plan when Ted Green announced that he was running? We've got Warren, who wants to run for a third term now, right? And I've got major issues with that. What was his economic development plan? You may have to put the stopper in that. And then when we say Tony Voss, does he have a plan? What's his urban economic development plan? Where does he want to be in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Right? Are we clear that he got to where his goal was at the end of his first term? What are his expectations for the second term? How many terms does he believe he needs in order to accomplish what he wants to accomplish? So when you want to have an open-ended book here, you know, when you don't want to have that discussion, say, well, how long do you need? Ask the question. So are we saying from the beginning, and this is what I guess Alif was saying earlier, yeah, hell, let him just stay in office. So we're not going to have, we're not going to have a person say, well, I need 2 years to accomplish these goals. You have somebody say, you know what, I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I just want to stay in here until it gets done. Hello, caller?
Yes, this is Kevin. How are you?
Hey, Kevin.
Listen, I was listening to some of your conversation. I was writing, but you were talking about an economic development plan for the city. I think over the last couple of years, you and I have talked about this, and Butchie, you've been a part of this conversation. It's very, very difficult to ask someone that doesn't understand what you're talking about. So when you say economic development plan, I dare say that all of those mayors you mentioned are probably very decent people, some of them, but they wouldn't even understand what you're talking about. So let's start there. So to understand an economic development plan, you have to understand the assets you have in your city. That's number one. Number two, you have to understand what your city is. Your city is an emerging market. That's number two. And if you don't understand those two things quickly, you will never get to the development plan that you're talking about. So when you ask what your plan is, they first have to understand what ingredients goes into that plan. Because I could give you a plan right now, Eric. I could write 500 things and say this is the plan. It'll never get done. So you have to look at what globally is working, what regionally is working, what nationally is working, and try to incorporate that in some sort of tangible process for you to understand what your market is. So now let's ask the question. So everybody's talking about how they're going to balance their budget in the next couple of years. They're going to all be under state control because there's no what? There's no money coming into that city to drive that growth that you're talking about. So if you're talking about jobs, if you're talking about entrepreneurialism, if you're talking about clean streets, if you're talking about safe neighborhoods, where are you going to get the money from? So the number one question is, where are we getting the money from?
Right. But that's what
Where do you get that money from?
That's exactly what I'm asking. And so,
but it's very difficult because you have to. It goes back to that question why. It goes back to how we get there. So, what is your city? Your city is an emerging market. Okay, what is an emerging market? Here's a number of assets that we have to drive our local economy. How do we drive our local economy? Here are all the assets that we have to be able to do that. But guess what? You can't do that in municipal government because a lot of your leaders operate in silos. They operate from day to day. So if somebody comes to you and tell you right now, oh, we're not going to accept any money from the state, well, they're putting the city even in more jeopardy because they're already busted their budget already. So what black leadership is engaged in, you know what the number one role of black leaders today in America is? Herding cattle. You know what the second role of it is? Managing the poor. And so consciously we are used to what? Those conditions what allows us to have negative net returns. So you should ask them, what is the one thing you're going to do to drive your local economy and drive growth? That's just one good question.
well, I'm reading in the East Orange record, and Mayor Green said that he'd be willing to come in, and I think that you're right, Kevin. I think that you do have some folks who may be decent, some not so. But at the end of the day, the question is, can they do the job? So on the front page of the East Orange record, the headline is East Orange Mayor talks about progress at his address, right? His 100-year thing. And he says, well, I'm just going to read a little bit of it. Right? And then it says, when East Orange Mayor Ted Green gave his first 100-day address at Cicely Tyson School of Fine Arts and Performing Art Theater on Thursday, he said that he was proud of two accomplishments in particular. One was related to a redevelopment and revitalization of the city. The first project was the kickoff of a $30 million mixed-use commercial and residential development. Well, so the first thing I want to say, and I love Ted, but you can't say that in 100 days you put together a development package like that. This just didn't happen. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, like, when we have elected officials who from the gate begin to say, you know what, I'm gonna misinform the people about what's really going on. So say, tell the truth about the program. This thing was something I guess may have been under works under Mayor Taylor, or maybe even before Mayor Taylor. And so whatever small piece needed to happen over those 100 days to make this thing come to fruition. If for me,
but Eric, if you take, let me just say this: if you take the 4 black mayors, or the 5 black mayors, or the 6 black mayors that you're talking about, and you take all of their budgets, right? 900 million, 60 million, 150. Depends on what it is. I don't know all of their budgets, right? So if you got a $1 billion, $2 billion budget with all of them included, Hillside, all of them, right? Okay, so what does that mean? What's the input and the output, right? What's the input and the output? What is the matrix? Because if you look at all those cities, they have the highest unemployment, right? They have the highest level, well, not highest, they probably have the lowest level of entrepreneurialism representing the black community. They have all failing schools, right? Majority of them. Well, I don't know everybody's school system, but I dare say that all of them are failing, right? So their infrastructure is crumbling. They have no new income coming in, no new industry coming in. And when the new industry does come in, they want the largest tax credits, and they want to pull their employees to come in and work in those centers because that helps them efficiently run their operation. And then all of those people that come and work for those companies, they look for housing outside of Newark, outside of Hillside, outside of Irvington, outside of Orange, outside of East Orange, because it's not conducive for what? Their growth, and it's not conducive for their bottom line and their quality of life. So at the end of the day, you know, when you talk about what the future is, and you're talking about you're selling the future, well, that's the future, because you're not answering the question the right way. So then you say Sharp James. Sharp James had 20 years, right? He had 20 years, but he also had a robust economy. He also had a president that gave them billions of dollars to push up our police and infrastructure. You don't have that anymore. So you're going to go into these 4 other cycles basically bullshitting everybody, because you don't have the income and you don't have the wherewithal at the federal and state level to get the assistance that you need. So you got to start with the truth first. And then when you go to negotiate to get new revenue, you under-negotiate yourself for the future of the citizens of Newark. So now you have a water crisis. So now you have a crime crisis. So now you have an infrastructure crisis. And it's only going to get worse. So if you look at the top 10 cities in America to live in, we're not even on the radar screen. Nowhere in Essex County, I should say in black Essex County. If you look at where blacks are having their careers evolve, we don't even, just the other day, I think I sent it out, I don't know if I sent it out, somebody sent it to me, that Newark is the worst place to live if you want to start a career. Yeah. Now, these are all negative trends, and on top of 85% of the people not voting. So what does that say to the people that have to make business decisions when you come into a city like Newark? Now, that's a fact. That ain't manufactured.
No, these are all facts. These are all facts. And so for me, when I saw that Facebook post, I became deeply concerned that we're focusing on the fact that these are black men and not focusing necessarily on their competency, right? On their effectiveness, on the fact that they have any sort of a plan. Thanks for calling, Ken.
But that's not their fault. That's not their fault. I'm not blaming them for that.
Well,
I'm not blaming them. I'm not going to blame them.
Well, what I do hold them accountable for are the words that come out of their mouths. So when they intentionally say deceptive things, then I hold them accountable for that. Right? What we expect them to do is to be transparent. Right? So if they don't know something, say you don't know it.
Well, then you can't come up with fake economic formulas too, and not expect to be challenged.
Well, that's absolutely correct, and that's where I hold them accountable. So when you have, because you have collusion, then right, because you have them mixed up with all these other people, and they know that they're putting together a bill of goods to go and sell people that's not worth the paper that the words are printed on.
Well, here's the other thing when you talk about housing, right? There are a lot of young people that are moving into Newark, but they only stay here for a year. Right? They stay here for 2 years.
That's right.
Okay, they don't stay long because there's nothing that motivates them, because there's no emerging industry, there's no emerging nightlife, there's nothing emerging about the city that allows them to be able to stake their claim here. So when your father and mother and my father and mother staked their claim here, there was an emerging industry. If it was the steel industry, if it was the poetry industry, if it was government, if it was education, those industries no longer drive the market. Right, so it's technology, information, right? It's education. You know, it's those kinds of things that are going to drive the new emerging market. So when you say 70% of our kids are graduating from high school and you brag about that, well, that's painful. When you say that, you know, we're the shining hill on the city on the hill, when, you know, you have about the 25% unemployment rate in African-American males. Now, if you take all of those black cities and magnify that and look at it, it's probably above 50 to 60% African-American males unemployed. So our job, what the job of black leadership has become, is to herd cattle and manage poverty, manage the poor, which means managing poverty.
Here we go.
So in order for you to educate someone, Eric, about making real social changes, you got to start with the truth. Here is your present condition. Let's start there. Here is your present condition. And then add those other pieces to it. How do you feel about your present condition?
Well, again, this is why we're hitting the streets.
That's right.
This is
I'll
why
be with you. I told you I'm going to be with you that when you walk that day. I'm going to be with you.
This is why we're hitting the streets, because we need to understand that. We need to make sure that they understand it, and then we need to build from there. I've said, countless times, Kevin and Butchie, and to all of you guys who are listening, we're on hospice care, and all they're doing is managing our death. That's it.
That's it.
That's all they're doing is managing our death. They're trying to keep us as comfortable as they can, while we die. That's it.
Well, it's very interesting, right? If you go and you look at all of the indicators, I always tell people, don't listen to what I'm saying. Go and look at all of the indicators, right? Forget me. Forget you, Eric. Forget you, Butchie, right? Go look at all the indicators. The indicators don't lie. So just go for the last 12 quarters. So if you want to break the 12 quarters down to political cycles, if you want to break the quarters down into financial cycles, if you want to break them down by season, poverty levels are getting higher, right? Education in urban markets are getting worse, and opportunity is dead.
I agree.
Okay. So look at the top cities in America today. Philadelphia, Washington. They're hubs of diversity, right? But what's driving their economy? Huge economic growth. People have confidence in that market, have confidence that the leaders understand that growth is essential for not just new people, but for people that live in the city. And it's not about building a building. Listen, I love building buildings, but that doesn't define economic growth. That's an activity. That's an economic activity. You understand what I'm saying, Eric?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, brother. Thanks for the call.
Bye-bye.
So, I know there was another call calling on the same line that Kevin was in. Please, if you're still dialed in, call in. But here's the thing that we need to begin to ask the people who are in these offices. What is your plan? And not do like Alif said. Just give them time. Just give them time to try to figure something out. Give them time to, hopefully, trip over something that works. But in the meantime, we're suffering. Hello, caller.
Okay, this is Alif. In 2016, Newark had $679 million in revenue. In 2017, they had $698. They increased $20 million.
What does that mean? Wait. What does that mean? What is that?
Wait a minute. Let me.
Because you're reading off some numbers, right?
In a minute. The tax rate in Newark now was 88. Is now 96%. Newark has a surplus of $58 million. That's on the financial page of a public record, page 21. As far as Ras Baraka raising money, he raised it off his birthday party. He raised $400,000 4 years in a row, and that's the money he used for the election. Now, it's too late in time, and the guy talked for 15 minutes, but I'll be there Friday. I'm just telling you that Newark has increased their revenues. He said there's no revenues. Newark has increased their revenues. Newark has a $58 million surplus, and it's showing in the public record. And I'm going to bring it with me.
Okay. And so I look forward to that discussion. I look forward to that discussion because I want to understand. We're talking about, he says that Newark has a growing revenue stream. And I want to understand then the impact that's going to have on the joblessness rate. I want to understand the impact that's going to have on the education. I want to understand the impact that's going to have on our underdeveloped workforce. I want to understand the impact, right? So we'll throw the number out. And I'm going to research the number before you come in, I'll leave. But then what we want to understand is the impact, right? Because at the end of this year, I'm going to float the question that I'm going to ask you when you come in here. Is your suggestion then that all of these numbers that I'm talking about in terms of poverty, in terms of crumbling infrastructure, in terms of everything that is failing in this city, are you suggesting that at the end of this year, that those things will be resolved? Are you suggesting at the end of 2 years those things are going to be resolved? Are you saying that in the 3 years, those things are going to be resolved? So I want to understand, because the people that we're going to knock on the door, they don't believe that. So you can pull a number, and I'm going to verify the number that you just gave to be true or not, and we'll have a discussion on impact, because that's what it comes down to, impact. See, I've done, over the course of my career, Butchie, I've done probably well over 100 annual reports, right? And you pull statistics and numbers and pie charts and all those things out. But you know what matters, Butchie? Impact. Impact. What was the difference? What was the difference that was made? Right? I could tell you that I put, 4 cups of a laundry detergent in a washing machine. But if we pull the clothes out and they still have stains on them, I don't care if I put 4 or 8 cups in there. What's the impact? I still got filthy clothes. So we still got potholes. We still got filthy streets. We still have people who are incompetent working. We still have 98% of the folks graduating from our schools needing remedial courses. We still have the highest joblessness rate. I can keep going. What's the impact? Talk to me about impact. I'm looking forward to Friday. Oh, I'm looking forward to Friday. Cool. It's going to be a great show. And I'm grateful for the fact that that he wants to come in and wants to share whatever knowledge he has. And the whole idea is that we have an open discussion, right? Don't call me on the phone and talk about it. We come and we have a very open conversation so everybody understands what's going on. So he said a $58 million surplus. Surplus, correct. Right, surplus. So that's what we'll be discussing, amongst other things. So I look forward to that, Ali. So did we cover most of it, right? What I want to do is I'm also going to read a little bit more into tomorrow is Thursday, so we'll have our new batch of newspapers to be able to go and read through to prepare for next week's conversations. And I'm looking forward to that, man. So listen, guys, I think we covered a decent amount. Stay tuned for the water thing. Keep signing up. Say that you want to participate in the we gotta call it something, Butchie. I don't know what to call it.
Fact finding.
Is that what it's gonna be? Is your mic on?
Like,
did I?
Yeah.
I got your mic on.
Fact finding.
That's what the walk is gonna be. A fact finding walk.
Why you didn't come out and vote? Do you believe that we should have term limits? Do you believe that we have an issue when it comes to politicians getting away with whatever they get away with and there's no repercussion for it? And most important, do you believe that the city of North should be answering questions to the firm or the organization about our water? Do you believe?
The water thing is a big thing, Butchie. I think it's criminal. I think it's criminal, man. I think that there are gonna be some criminal charges at the end of this, man, for covering it up.
Well, folks, this is it. Till tomorrow, 10 to 12, the Eric Dawson Show.
Thanks for
Community
tuning in.
Radio.
Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more back thinking. Time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war and poverty. Wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. They're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. we just let it be. Na 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 na. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it now, just you and me.
Thanks for listening to the Eric Dawson Radio Show. Now that you've received this dose of thought-provoking information, why not put it to good use? Spread the word and turn your knowledge into action.
That's always helpful. Folks become more informed, and hopefully through the discussion, we can engage them, and then through the information, they can be empowered to make a change in the community.
Tune in regularly for more food for thought. This has been the Eric Dawson Radio Show on RTH 2000.